Hi there. Okay, well, we've made some more progress since the last time I was with you. We've got both moccasins kind of taking shape here. They're both put together. And what I was going to do next would be to get the proper height for the moccasins. Okay, time was when I used to do all kinds of measuring and everything like that, and it was a real frustration. So I found a better way, and I'm going to show it to you now. And that is to take your moccasin and stretch it out like that, and then fold it over, flatten everything out as nice as you can. Okay. I'll just move that over. Get all the wrinkles out that you can. Try to make sure that the center of the heel is kind of in line with the center of the foot, and that you've got about the same distance in here on each side. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a straight edge. I'll use one that I think should show up. And I'm going to measure about 1/4 of an inch down. And I do that just in case there's any sort of flaws on the inside or anything like that that might be an issue. Okay, and I'm just going to put that on there. That's a weight to hold it there. And then I'll take my marker. Oops. And you can always adjust it later if you find you got a bad spot. Okay, then once I've got that, before I cut it, I go over to the sewing machine and I sew about 1/8 of an inch on the back side of this mark here. Okay, and then after it's sewn, that'll hold everything together, and you'll be able to cut this off. So I don't think I have to show that to you. What I will show you a little bit is about installing the piece of leather that goes on the inside of the moccasin. I've done this piece already, and unfortunately I should have put the leather on after I installed the studs. Okay, but to make this the same, I'm going to do it the same way. Now what I do is I cut out a piece of leather, whatever you can find, something that's going to go over top of everything in the back, and that will cover this all up, as well as make something that is very wear resistant, that won't wear out immediately, because that's a high wear point where you take them on and off. And what I do is I taper the back piece a little bit, and this part is going to get glued onto the sole, where this part gets glued onto the back. Okay, so I'll put some glue on it here. And again, I just use this sticky glue here. I find it works well. And I don't know, I'm more generous with the glue than maybe I have to be. I put it on both sides. That should be up high enough. Okay, and then some down the middle here. And to get it right on the bottom, what I do is I've got a little tool here, and I take a chunk off. And I put it on the very bottom of the heel at the back. And if you got any left over, you can put it on the other part of the heel, or the other part of the fabric. Okay, then once you got that, I take it like this. I kind of bend it up a little bit. I'm not sure how good you're seeing this, but I bend it back, and right where it would sit on the heel is where I set it down. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So I've got this piece that's down on the sole, and then I've got the rest of it. Okay, so then all I do is just kind of push it into place and try to line the leather right in line with the back. Then I've got a little roller here that I bought, and I just kind of roll everything into place. Okay, that's actually going to be sitting very well. Now what I would do is take and punch the holes with, I've got a anvil here with a cutting board on top so I don't dull my punches, and I punch a hole in it. Okay, we'll just do one here. Okay. Yep. Then I take a rivet and I push it through from the inside. And that's what it looks like. Okay, then I'll take the cap, and what I like to do with the caps is I give it a drop of super glue, and it's not that many, one is fine. And if you do that, it actually doubles the strength of the fastener. Okay, then take your round anvil part, put it on there, good. And it should just, you should just barely be able to see it coming out. Okay, and that's what it looks like on the inside. I see my battery is running dead again, so I'm going to let you go now, and I'm going to come back in a few minutes, and I'm going to show you how to, okay, well, we're already showing. What I'll do is I'll cut the heel, cut the back, and I'll sew this up, and then I'll show you about the banding that we put on there. So I'll let you go now, and then I'll come back shortly. Thanks. Okay, so here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be making a pass with our sewing machine just behind this line, and then we're going to cut it off. Okay, this is only, it's not temporary, but it is a line stitching that's not really that important because it's going to get covered up with the banding. And this sewing machine that I use, I'm very pleased with it. I bought it second hand. It's a Kenmore, and it's one of the last models that had solid gears. It hasn't got the plastic gears, and it's got a good 1 amp motor, and it works very, very nicely. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to cut this off now, but I'm not going to do it right this instant. What I'm going to do is show you what we're going to put on the back. Okay, now this is the banding that I'm going to put on it and how it goes on. After I get the, here it is. Well, maybe I should cut this off now. It'll be easier to demonstrate it to you. I'll just make a rough cut here. Okay, so this is what I'm going to put on, and the decorative part, of course, goes on the outside, and then the whole thing gets folded over like that, and then you can either stitch it if you have a powerful enough sewing machine to go through 4 layers of leather plus a couple other layers, or you can use rivets on there. I found that rivets are quite decorative, and they they do the job really well. And then we'll be putting this on here somehow, maybe underneath here. I haven't decided on that yet. But so this is how I'm making this, and I'll show you just how it's made. Now here's the one for the other side, and you can see I've got a line drawn right down the middle. So I take the paracord, and it goes on the good side, and it's going to get sewn right in the middle of that line. And how I do that is I take the paracord, put it in the middle, and then the 2 sides here I even up so they're exactly the same. That way I know for sure that it's right in the middle. I give it a little bit of a roll like that to make sure, and then I put a clamp on it. Put a clamp on it like this, and then I go a little bit further down. And again, making sure that your edges here are even and that the paracord is as tight as possible to the other side, and then another clip. Okay, and then what you have to do is you have to sew right down the middle of that paracord. Now, because you can't see the paracord, it makes it a little bit difficult to guess where you are putting, where your stitching is going. And I've had a lot of frustrations in that when you're all finished, you've missed half of stitching half of the paracord. So I've come up with another way that you can try it, and I would practice whatever way you decide. I would practice first. Get yourself some scrap leather and practice a little bit. Okay, so like I said, you can either take it all at once and fold it over. Make sure that you do not have stiff leather when you're doing this, because it will possibly crack, and it'll end up to be no end of frustration. So we would sew that like that, and then fold it back over on itself, and that would be our ankle trim. Or there's another way that you can do it. You take your pieces and you put the good sides together. Okay, so there we got the two good sides. And then take your, in fact, you could do this first with just one side here. Okay, so take your paracord, line it up with the edge of the leather, and then put a seam down the middle, or as close, well, down the middle would be best. Okay, so sew your a line right down the middle of that, and then take your other piece of leather, put it on top, and do exactly the same thing. Stitch the two pieces together. Let's just see how that would work. Okay. And you can always cut the leather off too if you're not exactly in the middle. Okay, let's just try this, even though it's not in the middle here. Okay. And then we'll just cut this piece off. So you can see there that it's pretty well down the middle. And there's the other piece, a little crooked. Okay, then we'll take this piece, lay it on top, and now we know where the paracord is, and we know that it's tight against the back. Okay, I'll just trim this. And now if we take it and we turn it Okay, I should have been a little bit more further in. See, this is the kind of frustrations that you can have. But it's not bad. I caught it in a few places. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to move the seam in a little bit more. It's worth the frustration in the end because you end up with something that looks pretty nice. Then we'll just flip it open, and now you can see what we got. Okay, so then this would do the same thing. It would go right on the back of your moccasin, and you'd have a nice finished edge there. Now, you don't have to put this on. I kind of like doing it because I think it looks good. Then on the I usually make them about 1.25 inches, and then you can add your decoration like I did to this one here. You can add some decoration to the bottom part of it, and you can fold it over and glue this part down. And then, like I said, if you've got a sewing machine that can go through that much leather, no problem. Otherwise, use rivets. And so that's how I'm going to do the banding on these two. And it's the same thing with the tongue. You just use a shorter piece. So those are the things that I'm going to be working on. And then after that, we're going to decide what we should do for the eyelets for doing up the shoelaces. Okay, so with that, I'll let you go and we'll see you next time.